Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Moving to Florida show. Your host, Judson, here, along with co-host Mohit Badlani.
What's up?
Or this will fit in with today's theme. Perhaps I should say Mohit, father to teens, Badlani.
Yes.
So let's dive right in. With that said, a little bit of a preface there. Hey, I want to give a shout out, though. I do not have a name, but shout out to an unnamed Moving to Florida show listener that reached out to us with today's topic. So we actually got a text on our Moving to Florida show hotline. Stay tuned. At the end of the show, Mo will give you that phone number. Again, if you want to contact us, maybe we could have been a little better prepared for that.
Right.
But here's the question. Hi, Moving to Florida show. I listen to the podcast every week. We are planning a move to Florida in the next year or two, depending on my job. I was wondering if you could do a show on moving with teenagers. We have 3. It seems like it's never a good time to move with teenagers because of their friends, school, and jobs. What helps them have a better experience moving in general and specific when moving to Florida? Maybe have some teenager guests on the show who have recently moved to Florida. Any help would be great. Well, we don't have any teenage guests on the show today. It is just Mo and I. And to be frank, I have little to no experience because I did not have kids when I moved to Florida. And Today I have a 3-year-old.
There you
go.
So
he is 3 going on 13. Sometimes it seems. We're going to put Mo in the hot seat today because Mo does have, not only does Mo have teenagers, but he also moved to Florida as a teenager.
Very
though
true.
That was decades ago, Mo.
That was 1998 is when I moved, and I was 16 years old when I moved. Now, I was moving from a bigger city to Orlando, so I was moving from Chicago to here. And yes, there is an adjustment period. My parents, going back and before I go into how my feelings and stuff, I guess it'll be a couch session for me, I guess. A therapy session, I guess.
There we go. We're going to bring out some of that teen angst, Mo.
Right. So the reason we moved to Florida is my dad had a gift shop store opportunity to open in Kissimmee, 192 here, which is one of the most tourist towns in Central Florida. And so my uncle had already moved here. He opened a gift shop, and he was doing pretty decently for himself. And my dad, saw that, and he's like, "Hey, you mind if I become a partner with you, and we can help each other out?" Because he was doing it by himself. So he's like, "Yeah, sure." So my dad became a partner with my uncle, and then he tried it out for about 6 months to a year, and that's when we decided to move as well. So he's like, "Yeah, it's successful down here. I think you guys need to move down." That's it. We had to move down because my dad was already working here. So we moved down. I was 16 years old. My brother, 7 years younger, so he was about 9, 10 years old at that time too. And for him it was an easier adjustment. But for me it was something different because I was already a freshman in high school, and I was moving in my sophomore year, and it was a definite culture shock because I moved from a big city to a small town, and I went to Poinciana High School. At that time, Poinciana High School was the only high school in that whole area of Kissimmee. And, well, not really. I think there was one more high school, but it was on the east side of 192, where I was on the west side of 192, which is in Kissimmee. And that was the only high school at the time that I could attend because that's where my parents decided to rent their home for a short period of time. And that's where I went to high school. And it was definitely a different experience because coming from a major city like Chicago, you're used to having, public transportation. You're used to having, a fast pace of life, walking to school, walking back from school. If you needed a bus, you could use a bus, but, we weren't that far away from school, so we had to walk. I think in Chicago, if it's more than like 3 miles, you need to take a bus or something like that. If it's less than 3 miles, you better have a bike or you better walk. So
3 miles is a decent commute as a teenager. You know what? This is kind of different topic, a little bit of a tangent, but I don't think we have that. We don't live in that world anymore.
No, we don't.
People get all up in arms if kids are riding like half a mile on their bike to school, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, I see kids over here in my neighborhood and stuff. They're, riding their bike and stuff, but the school is like less than a mile away. So, I mean, you're talking about walking in the snow, 6 foot snow, barefooted. You remember those stories?
Right, yeah. Uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways. It was very similar to that, but I actually had shoes on, snow boots on at that time.
Right.
And then coming down here, you have to adjust with the weather because it is hot. And I moved like at the peak of summer. So school starts here August 15th. And that's when I started my, schooling here, my high school here. And I was a sophomore. And in Chicago, I had my set of friends that I've had for my whole life. Like from kindergarten, I had the same group of friends from kindergarten all the way up to freshman year in high school. And I mean, some I kept relationships with, some went their own path. We all take our own path, so we all went our own ways. Some came back into our lives because of Facebook. Remember, folks, Facebook was invented really late. But if you're a social person, I guess it depends on teenager to teenager or person to person of how social you are. If you have a good tight knit of friends, you're going to be friends with them forever. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. And then you have some friends that you won't be talking to anymore, or you just be sending happy birthday messages on Facebook. But yeah, it was definitely even a culture shock in the sense of I was in a melting pot, I would say, in Chicago. So I had so many different type of friends from different religions, different backgrounds and stuff like that. And coming here, it was a little bit different because it was Poinciana High School at the time was predominantly Spanish-speaking kids. So I had to adjust with that as well. Like, okay, how do I communicate with some of these people? Because they just had moved to Florida themselves from, let's say, Cuba or Puerto Rico or whatever other, Venezuela, whatever other, South American country or area. And they were all Spanish speakers. I think out of our school, I think it was 80% Spanish speakers, 20% mix. Yeah. But that was 98 to 2001. That's when I graduated. And then I didn't really have a job in Chicago because I was just a freshman going into sophomore year and coming here.
Yeah, you were right at that time where you get your first job. Let me guess. Did you work in a gift shop?
I did work in my dad's gift shop, but before that I did work at a bookstore. It was a bookstore called B. Dalton at the time, and I think that was owned by I don't want to say Borders. What's the other big one? Barnes and Nobles.
Books A Million.
Yeah, they were owned by Barnes and Nobles at the time, and it was just a small little bookstore that was in the Point Orlando area, which is I Drive Point Orlando, which is like a little shopping center, I would say. A shopping center, restaurants, and things like that on International Drive, and that's where I worked. That was my first job over there, and I was 17 years old. Yeah, again, going back to the transition, it took me about a good year and a half to transition into becoming a Floridian. But once you're a Floridian, there's no going back. And I can't move back to Florida. I can't move back to Chicago. I probably wouldn't handle the weather really well.
Yeah, you get that lake effect snow up there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, bro. So now with my teenagers, it's a little different because they've grown up here in Florida environment, as Florida schooling system and whatnot. But the thing that really affected them the most is a bunch of relief schools, because with the population growth that's happening here, they're opening a lot of relief schools. So my youngest daughter actually spoke to me about 3 days ago. She tells me, do I have to move my middle school next year? Because she's going to be in 8th grade next year. And we're going to be hopefully in our new house by then. Which, by the way, is the December time frame now. So
the race is on now. Sorry, sidelined again. The race is on whether you're going to have your new home ready or our community is going to have the new pool ready.
There you go.
We'll see which happens first.
I bet you your pool is going to be ready before my community, my house. So for my little one, it was a little different for the last maybe year and a half, because now she's actually built a good group of friends that she hangs out with. And she asked me the other day, "He's like, do I have to move to the new middle school because it's across the street and it's a relief middle school?" So
yeah, so a brand new school that's being built, and that right there at Silverleaf, has that school opened yet?
Yeah, that school is open. Both the elementary and middle school have both opened. And that's the school that she'll be going to. And it's literally, I want to say 3 minutes up the road from her other middle school.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it is a different school than she's zoned for right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a different school that she's zoned for. But we're going to try our best to keep her in the current middle school that she's in, because, she's like, this is going to be my 11th school. And she's only 12.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, everywhere we've moved 3 times in Florida, 3 times in Florida, and in Orlando itself, and she's been to 11 different schools because of the rate of people coming in.
Just the growth and the new schools opening.
Yeah, growth and the new schools opening, so they keep rezoning year over year. So unfortunately for her, she's been through 11.
She gets bounced around, yeah.
She gets bounced around. My oldest one, not so much, because she was in that transition phase where they weren't transitioning into the new school yet, but she was always in the last year when the new school would open up. So she would finish her elementary 5th grade, and then the new school would open up, and then she would go straight into middle school. So she didn't have to worry about going to multiple different elementary schools or multiple different middle schools.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's definitely some good insight. You kind of hit it from both sides there, both your experience moving here and then what your daughters are going through as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the oldest one lucked out a little bit, and
she did.
The younger has gotten the short end of the straw like every move.
Right.
Well, you know what? That's just going to make her more well-rounded, I say.
Yes, it will.
So how about this? Let's dive into some tips here, because I actually did do a little bit of research on this. I put a little bit of thought into it, and also talked to a few people. So I've got some tips here, and Mo, maybe you can back these up with some of your insight and experience. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
So I got to give a shout out to my wife, Elizabeth, here. She helped me a little bit with this. I ran this question by her because she did move around, not a ton, but she did move around some as a child and as an early teenager. So she gave me some insight, especially this first one. She said, you know what, tell them to try to make the move at the beginning of summer. I mean, that way the teenagers have plenty of time to maybe make some new friends. They'll learn the lay of the land, especially if they're like older teenagers that are driving already. They can learn the roads and learn the area and all of that before just being thrown right into it and thrown right into a new school. So this way, if you move right at the beginning of the summer, they've had a few months of summer to get used to the new area, learn the new area, maybe make some friends. And when school starts up, they're not going to be the only new kid. There are going to be other new kids that move there over the summer. So it'll be a lot easier to make new friends because there are going to be other people that are new as well.
Yeah. Yeah. She's absolutely right. Coming in early like I did from freshman year, so it was an easier transition, but it still took me about a year and a half to actually
to get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you moved, was it during the summer, like I said, or did you move like mid-school year?
I moved about 2 weeks before school started, so I had about 2 weeks to prepare for school.
Yeah, which is really nothing on a teenager time frame.
Exactly. It really isn't nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, but a good thing I was there about a year prior to me moving here permanently and scoping the area out, see what I liked, what I didn't like. Well, basically it was not me who was scoping the area. It was my dad and my parents. so they were the ones that were scoping the areas out and whatnot, and see which area would work best for them to live in and work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's another one. If you're going to hire professional movers to come in and pack you, of course, there's all different levels of movers. Some of them are just going to move the boxes, drive the truck, but some of them actually do come in and pack for you. So it just depends on what level.
Yeah.
But even if you're going to hire professional movers that are actually going to come in and pack your items, let your teenager pack up their room first, at least a few boxes. Go ahead, do this early. Get some boxes to them. Make sure they're well informed of what's going on. It goes to my next tip, which is going to be to give them adequate notice. But let them pack up the stuff that's important to them. That way, you're sure that nothing that's really important to them gets lost or broken or anything like that. Let them go ahead and pack up their important items.
Yeah,
good one.
It's a very good one.
Okay.
Something that actually saved us time when we moved home to home was having just our clothes in our closets all boxed up and let the movers take care of the big stuff, like the big furniture, heavy lifting stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so here's the next one. I already hit on it, but give your teen adequate notice before moving. They need plenty of notice so that they can not just physically prepare by packing some of their own stuff, some of their important items, but so that they can mentally prepare. I think we all remember being a teenager and remember what a difficult time that is already, right? And just they need to be mentally prepared because we know teenagers take a little bit more time to adjust, and everything is emotional, right? That's a time when we're just flooded with emotions.
Yep.
We've got hormones going on,
yep.
And it's a difficult time already. So just make sure that your teenagers have plenty of notice before moving. And on that note, discuss all of the positives about moving. I mean, of course, there are going to be negatives. There's going to be, they've got their friends. Maybe they already have their first job established. They've got their network. They know where things are. They're leaving all of that stuff behind. So just talk about the positives with them. They have difficulty understanding why changes must happen now rather than later. But point out all of the good things that are going to come about the move. Especially, look, you're moving to sunny Florida, right? This is vacation paradise.
Exactly.
So if you're moving to where Mo and I are and you're moving near the theme parks, talk about going to theme parks. Go visit the theme parks when you first make that move, or even I see this happen a lot. If the whole family comes to Florida and you're looking for a house, take a little time to enjoy it too. Don't make it just all about business. We got to find a house. Mm-hmm. Give yourself adequate time. Maybe go visit the theme parks and go visit the beaches. Do a little bit of vacationing while you're here so you see what the lifestyle is going to be like as well. And, maybe on that note, again, if you're near the theme parks, go ahead and offer to get an annual pass to Universal Studios. Or if they like Disney, maybe it's Disney World. Say, hey, first year we're here, we're going to get an annual pass to this. That way they got something to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. So going back to remembering what happened in 1998, that's one of the first things I did too. One of the first things my parents did too. In 97 when we came to visit, my parents here's theme park tickets. And go knock yourself out. Go check it out. My cousins, live down here already because my uncle's already here. So I was going with them. And not only that, my parents became part of the Indian community down here. So they went to the Diwali ball, which is our biggest holiday. So we do an event for that every year. So, which by the way, it's going to be next week on Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say that's coming up soon, right? Happy Diwali
right?
to you.
Yeah, Diwali is actually Monday, and then we're going to do our Diwali ball on the 29th. So I was, I went to the Diwali event. I'm 15, 16 years old. So, and noticed that there's a lot of 15, 16 years old in this community. So, just people coming up to me and say, hey, we've never met you before. Are you new to the community and whatnot? And that's how I created a good network of friends down here already. They probably were going to different schools. Most of them went to all different schools. Some went to schools up north and north of Orlando. Some went south of Orlando. Nobody was really near me, and maybe one or two friends were. In that network were close to me, but not too many. But you built a friendship right then and there, going to these events and being part of a community of this sort. So that's a good point. Go to the theme parks, get those tickets. That's a lot of fun because that's really enticing. And then hit the beach because you're only an hour away from the beach. You know what I mean? Which teenager doesn't like the beach? You know what I mean? Might be allergic to the sun or something, but they don't like the beach.
Yep. Well, hey, here's another one. This kind of ties in. Find local activities. So maybe it's not Diwali that you're going to be going to, the Diwali ball,
Right.
but start looking for local activities for your team to get involved in. If they're interested in like a particular sport or a craft, start searching for a team or a group or something like this for them to join. You can check with local schools, different community centers. If you're working with a good agent in your area, a good realtor, they should be able to point you in the right direction on stuff like this. And I mean, it might even be a good idea to get the whole family signed up for a new fun activity. That could be that annual pass that I was just talking about, or, just something that the family is interested in where you can get to learn the local area and the local community.
Correct. And, something for teenagers in high school, you do need some volunteer hours. I mean, look at what, all the volunteering areas, all the community centers and whatnot, and you can build relationships there, and, you can start volunteering down here too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, got another one. Let your teens help in selecting the new home. Get them involved in this process.
That's very important.
If you come down early and you're looking at homes, as you're walking through the homes, talk to them about it. This is something that we as realtors do. Is we want our clients to be able to picture themselves in the home. So, I mean, do this with your teenager too. Talk to them about what they like about the house, what they don't like about the house. Hey, which room would you want to be your bedroom? Let them pick their bedroom, so that maybe they have an emotional attachment to it and they're more excited about it. They start getting excited about the move.
Right. I completely agree with you there. That's definitely going to be a huge adjustment because you're going from one house wherever you live to another house. So you're going to be selecting your own room. The own location. Where do you want to be? Do you want to have a pool in your house? Something like that. Something cool that, the whole family can, decide together.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hey, and on that note, once you do move, once you're, unpacking and everything, maybe go ahead and help your teen decorate their room. Now, again, I don't have teenagers. I have a 3-year-old, but I know when we moved into our new house that we're in, my wife set up my son's room first. She wanted his room done before he even saw it. So that's the first thing she did before we even moved in. She painted a cool accent wall on his back wall. We'd already been prepping him for this because, again, he was 2 at the time when we moved.
Right.
He had only ever lived in the one house. We had really wonderful neighbors that we were leaving. And so she wanted him to be excited about this. So she kind of prepped him. She had been talking to him about it. And she's like, hey, what color do you want your new room to be? It was really funny. He said, when she's like, what color do you want your room to be, Brendan? That's my son's name. And he said, black. When my wife tells this story, she's like, he could see the look on her face when he said black, and he goes, and orange. So yes, my son wanted a black and orange room.
Right.
So she integrated those colors. She did use those colors, and he's got one of the accent wall in his room. It's these little triangles that are orange, and there's a brown color and black. She used the colors that he said he wanted, and she was not willing to paint the room orange and black, but she did use that on the accent wall, and it came out. It looked pretty cool. We got him a new bed. We actually set up his new bed in the room and had everything in his room set up so that the first time he came into the completed house, his room was done and he was ready. He had a place to play. His toys were in there. He could hang out while we were unpacking and doing our thing. So again, that's a 3-year-old, 2-year-old at the time, but you can do the same thing with your teenager. Help them unpack their room first, help them start getting comfortable and set up so that they're, a little more mentally in the game and okay with all of this.
Right. And the same thing my parents did. They when we moved over here, they took us to the furniture store and whatnot and be like, hey, you pick your furniture. Here's your budget. You pick your furniture, way you want your room to be set up, and we'll help you set it up. So we all went together and we picked up the living. My room's furniture, and obviously they were asking for input on the rest of the house too. It's like, hey, what do you think about this sofa? What do you think about this dining set and whatnot? So get them involved in the whole process as well. So this will, ease them into getting into a new house.
Yep. Definitely it. So So, I mean, these are the tips I had. Try to make the move at the beginning of summer. Give your teenager plenty of notice. To our listener that wrote in, they're doing it right? They're 1 or 2 years out. They're already thinking about this. I mean, that's definitely, to me, that's a sign of a good parent. So, so shout out to you. Thank you for reaching out to us for this topic. Hopefully you'll hear this on Friday when we release the episode. So let us know what you think. If this is helpful, if you have any more thoughts that we didn't touch on, and let us know. Likewise to you listeners, let us know what your thoughts. Maybe we'll hit on this again because, Mo moved as a teenager, but that's been years and years ago. He's got teenagers now that have moved around a lot, I just learned. But that's all within Florida. But I think these were some good tips. I'll hit on the other ones again real quick. Discuss the positives about the move. Stay upbeat. Let your teens help select the new home. Help them decorate the room right away. Find those local activities to get them plugged in and keep those lines of communication open. Let them pack their important stuff so that they don't lose anything, so nothing gets broken. And I like Mo's tip here too. He said what his parents did, they let him pick out new furniture. Hey, I love that. Here's your budget. What do you want in your new room? That's a great tip.
Yep, absolutely. Those are also very fantastic tips. And if you're a year out or 2 years out of moving, just like our guest was, make some trips down here.
Absolutely.
Get them accustomed to what Florida weather is like or Florida environment. It's like, come down here once, maybe twice a year. You don't have to stay here for, a month at a time. Just a week vacation or something like that, just to get acclimated with what Florida environment's all about.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Did you know that you can get featured for free in top-tier outlets like Forbes, the New York Times, Business Insider, even if you're just starting your business? Hey friends, I'm Gloria Chow, former diplomat turned small business PR coach and host of the Small Business PR podcast. Every day, small business heroes just like you are hacking their own PR, getting their story in front of a bigger audience, and positioning themselves as a sought-after industry expert. And on the Small Business PR podcast, that's exactly what I'll help you with every single week. Click on the show notes below or go to gloriachowpr.com/podcast. That's gloriachoupr.com/podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful down here, guys. It is. Every day is like living in paradise. If you're moving from up north, it's a little bit warm, but then we do this time of year start to have some beautiful chilly days. I woke
just
up
like
to
today.
Yeah, it was 54 degrees when I got up this morning. Yes, guys, that's considered chilly in Florida.
It is.
I almost even wore sleeves today. I did not. But
I almost walked out with a jacket on. I'm like, oh man, I know it's going to warm up in the midday, but do I even have to carry this jacket this morning?
Yeah, so as we record, it is October 19th. Today was our first day of fall, I would say. First day of fall weather anyway.
Yeah,
it's finally
exactly.
cooling off. We've hit that time of year. Yeah, we've hit that time of year where you can turn the AC off. Pro tip here, put your fan on your central heat and air system on circulate. That way it'll run about 20 minutes out of every hour and keep the air flow moving in the house.
Yes.
But you can open some windows. You still got to have the screens on because you don't want to let the bugs in.
Right.
But you can let that air circulate and it feels wonderful, man. It was brisk this morning. It felt so good.
It felt great this morning. I opened the front door. I'm like, wow, this is fall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mo, before we wrap it up, I know you said you got a December closing date now. You got Diwali coming up next week. Anything else fun going on with you?
Well, Diwali's coming up next week. My parents are also closing next week. They were supposed to close this week. It just got a little pushed to Monday. So they're closing as well. And my closing's happening. Diwali's around the corner. And then, holidays kick in. You got Thanksgiving right there. My anniversary's around the corner from Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is the 26th of this month? 26th or 27th?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, my anniversary's on the 27th. So I have a busy 2 months.
Yes.
Anything exciting coming from you?
Not a whole lot. We are in that time of year where things start to slow down. Of course, we've talked about on the show, we're in a kind of a transitional time in real estate. Shift is the word that a lot of people are using.
Right.
But, for you guys that are looking at moving to Florida, if you are moving over the next few months, kind of a good time. Yes, interest rates are higher, but it's a heck of a lot easier to buy your new home because you're not competing with as many buyers. Generally this time of year, it's a little bit easier anyway. But, things have gotten a lot less competitive competitive in the real estate market as far as buying a home. You're not having to go into a bidding war. You're not having to buy, pay way over asking price. You can still get your appraisal contingency accepted. You can do your normal inspections. All of that stuff's easier. So still a good time if you're looking to move to Florida. We've started hunting again ourselves. We're starting to look. We've been in this home for almost a full year. November 4th will be a full year that we've been in this home. We're already looking again.
You're doing house hunting again?
We may have lost our minds. I'm not sure.
No, I think you're looking investment long term.
We are. Well, that was the plan moving into this house was we'll live in it for a year or two, and then it'll become a rental, and we'll go buy another house with 5% down. That's kind of our house hacking way of not having to put 20% down on an investment property. We put 5% down, live in it for a year, and then move on. But we've been looking at some unique properties here lately. Yeah. We've realized we're on a 40-foot lot here. It's a little bit tight. I joke that you could pass salt to the neighbors out the window.
Yep.
It's not quite that tight. I cannot officially touch both houses as I walk down between them, but it's almost that close. It feels that close. We've realized we need a little more space. Yeah. We've been looking at getting maybe into like a little hobby farm, something like that. We've been looking a little more further out, stuff a little bit more rural. Even matter of fact, recently we've identified a property that we really love, and it is a manufactured home. We never thought we would live in a manufactured home, but it's in the beautiful rolling hills of a little town called Howie in the Hills, and it's on 1 acre, and like the neighbors are cows. That's the type of property that we're looking at now. Can't even see the neighbor's house from that house that we're looking at. So we may be making an offer. We're still running numbers, trying to figure it out, figure out what we want to do. But yes, we've really been looking at a lot of unique properties, looking at different type of stuff than we've considered before. Just everything going on in the world. We're like, you know what? We could have chickens. Maybe goats. Like once we started looking at this, we really went off the deep end a little bit. We've had to rein ourselves back in.
You went down a rabbit hole.
We definitely did. But who knows what we'll end up with. But yeah, we're doing that hunt again. It's been fun looking at these different property types. So that's kind of what we've had going on lately.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So you're going to move further away from me, and right. You move from Winter Garden to Claremont now. Howie in the Hills.
Now
Where
Howie,
am I going to find you, bro?
We were looking down in Polk City too, and I'll tell you, look, this does kind of come back to maybe the teenager thing. We're having to look at schools again. We're looking at schools, and the areas we're looking in, we're like, hey, maybe we can do some of these things we want, be a little more self-sufficient, but we're also trying to lower our monthly payment on our home, of course, which is tough with the higher interest rates. Right. But that's why we're looking in these more remote areas. But the schools are not as good in these remote areas too. We've been looking around like Polk City, down in Polk County even. But one thing that our son is in a Christian school here in Claremont now that we really like. It's a daycare now, but they go all the way up to 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
And my wife, I recently learned she intends on him to stay there at least through elementary school too.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, now I got a budget for private school.
Yeah.
But that's, one thing we're looking at. These areas we're looking at, the schools are not as good. She's done that research. She's looking at all of that stuff. But so now we're like, okay, what's the commute to his current school? We want to keep him in his current school, right, but what's the commute from where we're looking at? So that's something for you guys to factor too. Definitely look at the schools, look at what the different school ratings are, and figure out, where you're willing to negotiate a little bit. Right. But maybe also, if you're not going to keep him in public school, what are the private school options? What are the charter schools that are around? Those are, tend to be a lot better, more highly rated. It's just usually a lottery system or something like that to get them in. So that's something you got to look at too.
Right. Yeah, you have a lot of moving parts here too, so you're absolutely right. I mean, schools are very, very important, especially if you have a teenager or younger. So you're going to want to be in a decent school environment. If you have to visit the school, visit the superintendent, talk to the principal, whatever you need to do to, Google will only give you so much. You know what I mean? Until you've actually visited the school, take your teenager with you to the school. See if they like the school, first of all.
So absolutely. Great tip.
Yeah. See if they like the school. See if they like the school environment, and then go from there. See if that's an area you want to move to.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fun. Thank you so much to our unnamed listener that reached out with this question. Guys, if you want to get your question answered on the show, Mo's going to let you know how.
All right. We want to hear from you. You can reach us at our Moving to Florida show hotline by dropping a voicemail or texting us to 407-900-5859, or drop us a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Moving to Florida Show. And for Twitter, our handle is at Moving to FL Show. If you'd like to connect with us, if you have any questions, or if you need a realtor here in Florida, you can reach us at movingtofloridashow@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you like our content so that it would automatically download to your device and get you one step closer to moving to Florida.